Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Dr. Chris Featherstone once again for another edition of Unscripted. Hey, so we're going to have a great time as we do always. So, interestingly enough, I'm not surprised though. I've been doing unscripted now for I don't know. It's been like 10 weeks or something like that. It's been it seemed like it's been fast. It's been like 10 episodes, I think. With that, this person I believe received one of the most popular episodes. Had one of the most popular episodes, and I've had some heavy hitters on here. But again, I'm not surprised. But this person had one of the most popular episodes. I'm looking now just to see the past episodes, and if I'm not mistaken, he has at least one of the most views. I'm not sure as far as the views last time. Let's see if we beat him last 3 weeks ago. He was on the show. And so if I'm looking at all the unscripted episodes, yes, he has received the highest number of views. And it has been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I think, yeah. So, wait, it's been that many. Wow, it's wow, it's crazy. Long time. So it's been a lot. So it's been like a dozen at least. I'm counting, and he's had the most since the last time I was checked. So 27,000 views the last show. So we got to beat that one. Obviously, this person is still over because of you guys' support. So again, not a surprise. Once again, my friend Ken Anderson, like I did last time, I do this time. Anderson, how are you tonight, sir?
I like that you added the Vince McMahon gravel in there. Their gravelly wrestler voice. Good to see you, Doc. Doc.
Likewise, man. How's life?
It's great. It's actually
It's
good.
great.
I'm enjoying myself. Yeah.
Yeah, man. So you're vacationing or family visit or what?
No, my father has been a drywaller and finisher for the last, like, I don't know, 46 years or something like that.
Oh, wow.
And because of COVID and things changing, he said, hey, got to make some money. So if you want, I'll teach you the business. So
All right.
I live up in the Twin Cities, but he lives in La Crosse, which is about 2.5 hours south.
Okay.
And so I've been going up when we have the kids. We spend time with the kids. And then as soon as the kids go back to their moms, I jet down here. We stay here and I work every day. And
Oh, wow.
it's something that I never thought that I would enjoy, but it's a cool gig. And it's you get to see everything kind of come together. It's just the two of us working at our own pace. You get to listen to tunes and podcasts and things like that all day long. So it's cool.
Nice. So for let's plug your stuff, man. You had 27,000 views last time, so it's a good time to plug your stuff. I mean, you want to promote anything?
Yeah, I mean, I still have the academy. Obviously, we're not open right now. Just I feel like I probably could open up, but we're just not. I don't know how many views. Sorry, she's doing it again. She just did it again.
She did.
She's making TikTok videos in there. She just put them on the glass. She put them on the glass.
Oh, okay.
There's some French doors dividing the room that we're staying in and this room. So
she is hilarious.
I may have to go quickly. I may have to go pretty soon. But the academy is still in existence, and I'm hoping sooner than later I can reopen at full capacity. But until that time, we're not taking chances. And but you can go to theacademyprowrestling.com. We've had a couple people sign up over the last few months with the knowledge that, hey, we don't know when this thing is going to be over, but some of them paid in full and said, all right, I want to get that out of the way, the payment part, so that I just know whenever you guys are able to open up again, I'm good to go. I just train,
Nice. That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Ricky's actually got a question for me. How many times have I interviewed Mr. Anderson? Oh gosh.
Didn't we just talk about it?
Yeah,
12, right?
It's oh goodness. Yeah, so I was counting the amount of shows that's unscripted shows that I've had since I started. And you have the most views. I think Thunder Rosa second with about 19,000. So
is that one episode, or is that like?
Yeah, so that's one.
Episodes?
Yeah, so yeah, I think I've done 12 unscripted episodes now. But as far as just interviewing Ken all together, I think this has to be like 10, probably. At least like 9 or 10 times it's been. So yeah.
Have we ever interviewed like outside of this? Like, have you ever worked for a radio station or anything like that, or another?
No, so
independent news site.
No, well, I've worked for plenty of independent news sites. Yeah. So this is the second time for unscripted, but unscripted, for those who don't know, unscripted is like an offshoot of Pancakes and Power Slam. So every week I had a wrestler interview on Pancakes and Power Slams. Sportskeeda loved the idea. They basically hired me on to do the interview segment and created a spinoff, which is unscripted. And so that's how we get that. So as far, you've been on P&P for probably 7 or 8 times, I think. So it's been quite a bit. I think we were talking about the Five Timers Club, like a couple of years ago. So we're talking about the SNL Five Timers Club.
We're way past that.
Yeah. So it's been quite some time. But yeah, I've freelanced for Sports Illustrated. I've freelanced for Fox Sports. I've written for plenty of news sites. But now I get the enjoyment of being like the Stephen A. Smith of pro wrestling, to use my journalism in the sense of podcasting and pro wrestling commentary. I don't do much writing. I've written for a decade nearly, but I don't write as much as I used to. I'm too busy being a doctor now, so I really don't have the time. So, but I do have the luxury of talking to people like this guy over here and having fun with them. So, all right, so let's jump right into it. Guillermo was asking, who was the one that came up with the idea that you had to repeat your last name whenever you made your entrance?
When I was in high school, I announced basketball games, and I did
See,
that.
I always learn something new. I don't think I ever knew that.
No, really?
Yeah.
This is kind of a long story here. I'll try to condense it as much as possible so I don't bore you to tears. But I in high school, I think it was my freshman or sophomore year, I took this mass media class, and we had to pitch a fictional product, and we had to use like 3 different types of media to sell the product. So I think I did a poster, I did a radio advertisement, and then I did a commercial, and it was for Invincible underwear, because we had this kid that was always getting picked on, and people would give him wedgies, and so and he was just this really small kid, and to this day I don't think he's hit puberty, and he's probably 45 years old. But anyway, during the radio episode, I did I was doing my best impersonation of Michael Buffer. And then the teacher was like, hey, like, I think you've got a good voice for radio. We should talk to the principal about you announcing the basketball game. So I did. And then that was from sophomore through my senior year. I announced basketball games and a bunch of other stuff too. And then some point somebody said, hey, you should do, like they say the last name twice, just like they did in the old days, boxing. And so I started doing it, and it was always over with not only our fans, they loved it, but like the people from the parents from the visiting teams would always come over and say, like, that's really cool when you do that. And I would always do like when it was our guys from Two Rivers, that's the city that I grew up in, I would always, like, Jose Luis Garcia, and go through the whole thing. And then when I would, and then from Chilton, Bob Jones, and like totally throw it away. And then fast forward to, years later when I was in OVW, Paul Heyman said, hey, tonight, come out, cut the ring announcer off, run him down, tell him he's a piece of crap, piece of trash, and then you do your own announcement, make it big. And then, so I, had what I was going to say in my head. And then when I went out there, it just dawned on me to hit the last name twice. So I did. And then when I came back, everybody was like, if the boys like something, if the boys and girls like something, then it's going to get over with the fans, because everybody was like, you need to keep doing that. And,
nice.
And then it was only, I think, 5 weeks later, I debuted on SmackDown. And really that was the real thing that was the big change. I didn't change the way I was wrestling or anything like that, but Paul Heyman was also giving me a ton of TV time down there, like, I was very fortunate to have been a part of. He told me, like, I'm going to do so much stuff with you. You're going to get called up soon. I promise you. And 5 weeks later, I was on TV. So
now, were you Anderson in OVW?
Yes, I was.
Yeah. So
and I was Mr. Anderson. I remember I had thought about the idea because, the Matrix people would always, I would, I'd run into people when I do the Mr. Anderson, and I started thinking I could maybe use that for something. And then one day when I was at OVW, Maria was announcing me, and she announced me as Ken Anderson, and I said, like, hey, you and I are not on a first name basis.
Love it.
You will refer to me, show some respect. And
I love it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So was the transition easy to say Canada?
That's a good question, because the night that I changed it, I kept thinking, like, don't say Anderson, don't say Anderson, don't say Anderson.
Yeah.
And even as I'm saying it for the first time, I had to like stop in my head and say, you got to say Kennedy.
Yeah.
I didn't want to screw up, but
Right.
it got changed like 6 hours before I
Wow.
spoke into the microphone. So.
What was the first time you said Kennedy? What was the first match? You remember?
It was my debut on SmackDown against Funaki. Okay. So I debuted on Velocity against Funaki, and then that was as Ken Anderson, Mr. Anderson, and then, excuse me, I did, I think, 2 weeks of Velocity, 2 or 3 weeks of Velocity, and then when that third week or fourth week I came, and they said, hey, Vince wants to change your name. And I was like, I was kind of bummed out because, I remember talking, Davari and I would talk all the time, and he's like, don't let them change your name if you can avoid it, like use your real name, because then if you leave WWE, you can use the name. And
Mike is asking, who was your favorite match you was in and why?
The match I had with Kurt Angle at Lockdown 2009 for Impact was one of my favorites. There was a match that I had with Bully Ray in England. It was somewhere in England, maybe Manchester. I think it was Manchester. We did like a casket match.
Is that when you guys
the Aces and Eights thing?
Yeah, is that when you guys did like the O2 Center trips for TNA?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and I believe it was Manchester where we did the final casket match.
Gotcha.
Where he was saying that he was going to pile drive my wife and my unborn children. My wife, my ex-wife, was pregnant at the time with our twins, and he just kept saying things like that and riling me up. So
yeah. Prete is asking, can you tell us about your departure from WWE and what role Randy Orton played?
You know what, I would say the only person that I can blame for my departure from WWE is me. That's it. I honestly mean that. Like, I was I made so many missteps, and I just, thinking back, I got complacent. I'm here, I'm good. I just kind of coast instead of still driving ahead. And if there's something that I can tell my children and my kids, my students at the academy, it's just these sort of missteps that I made, and hope, hey, I did this. Here's an example of what I did and how it ended up. And there was all kinds of things. I remember I ran my mouth when I shouldn't have. I said things that I shouldn't have. I think I always appreciated somebody that was like brash and unapologetic and just spoke what was on their minds. And I sort of, I don't know if I tried to emulate that, but that was just me, And so I tried to do that, and I just shouldn't have. Speaking out about the Chris Benoit situation and steroids, and I brought a lot of unneeded and unwanted attention, And I think at the time, it was just the final straw. There were so many things that led up to that night, and Vince was just like, I'm done with this. Like, he's a liability.
Got it.
So.
Yeah. Greg is asking, what's up, Mr. Anderson? You ended up being one of Joe Hendry's opponents that he made a music video for. Thoughts on Hendry as a performer?
He was super creative. If you guys get a chance, definitely look up Joe Hendry and his little videos.
I believe in Joe Hendry.
And he was absolutely a dream to work with. He was really, really good. I don't know what he's doing now, but are you aware?
I know he was in Impact for a little bit. I don't know
Is he?
exactly what he's doing
You don't know
now.
if he's still there or not.
No,
Yeah,
I'm
no,
not
he was
sure.
great. He was really good, very creative, and that was a night that I had a ton of fun working just for ICW. It was I don't know how many people were in attendance. I want to say it was like 350 people. It wasn't, or maybe somewhere between 350 and 500 would be my guess. But it was in such a tight little building, and it just felt so. And the crowd was just insane. They're just loud for everybody for every match.
Nice.
And I loved the freedom that I had to sort of do and say whatever on the microphone for
Yeah,
ICW.
that's awesome. Ring of Honor. Looks like Ring of Honor as of February. So he hasn't wrestled in February. He hasn't wrestled since February. Oh wow.
Mm, mm, mm.
Yeah, that's
Well, I imagine the COVID. I don't think people can fly back and forth from the UK
yeah. Yeah.
to
Oh
the
yeah, that's
US,
true. That's
right?
true. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's true. That's a good
that's
point.
probably that's probably
Um,
what it is.
yeah, that's probably what it is.
Yeah,
Reju's
February, right?
asking, what was it like working with Brothers of Destruction? What are Taker and Kane like beyond the scenes? Good question.
Uh, they were they were their locker room leaders at WWE, and everybody respected them. But it wasn't like they didn't rule with an iron fist. Kane's just the most easygoing guy you'll ever meet. Just super sweet, and Taker's pretty laid back and easy too. It's just one of those guys. When somebody would do something in the locker room that was stupid, he would be the guy that would just go like, "Come here," and sit down and talk to them one on one like a man, and just kind of, what are you thinking?
Mm.
Why would you do that? And I'm sorry, but everybody knew that you know he is one of the top guys in that locker room, and Vince really, really respects him, and vice versa. And that you didn't want to piss Taker off, you know.
Yeah.
But working with them was fantastic. I remember there's a funny story about working the Brothers of Destruction. When you're on that kind of schedule, you're working 5 nights a week. Sometimes when we would have a SmackDown taping, and ECW was taping at the same time. So sometimes you would get pegged for an ECW match, a SmackDown match, and then MVP and I would have to wrestle the Brothers of Destruction in the main event dark match, which was just to send the crowd home happy. And it was non-televised. And a lot of times we would just go out there, we'd just call everything on the fly, which was really cool. It was fun. Just kind of play off the crowd and listen to them and wrestle for a little bit. But when you're doing that kind of schedule, it's bump, 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 bump every day, every night for 5 days in a row. You're pretty tired and beat up. And MVP, Taker would do, no, it was Kane would do the choke slam. And Undertaker would do the tombstone. And the tombstone is a way, way easier move to take. It doesn't hurt at all. It's like, you just literally hang on and he just kind of sets you down, whatever. But with the choke slam, you're way up. Kane's 6'5", 6'6". He picks you up over his head and slams you. It's not a fun bump to take.
Yeah.
So MVP and I would rock paper scissors for who was going to take the choke slam and who was going to take the tombstone.
Tombstone. Wow. Yeah. Nice.
Man, come on, dude? Do you mind taking the choke slam tonight? I can't do it.
I love it. That's interesting. Matthew, shout out to Matthew. He says you aren't as annoying as Stephen A. Doctor. Well, thank you, Matthew. I appreciate that. That's a compliment. Lee is asking, hello, Mr. Anderson. Anderson, who would you like to feud with in NWA?
Nick Aldis. Um, I think I've worked one match with Nick. Two actually. I ran a show in the Twin Cities 2 years ago, 3 years ago now,
Mm-hmm.
and Nick Nick was my opponent there. So, and then I think one other time in TNA, but Nick is a guy who has improved so much in the last
Mm-hmm.
5 years. He's the real deal. I would love to see what we could do.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, my camera's frozen. It looks like I'm asleep right now, so that's funny. Here it goes.
Oh boy.
Here we go. Yeah, I promise. I promise, Ken, you're not boring at all, man. All right. So Victor is asking, any thoughts of signing with AEW?
Um. Yeah. Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, that's that.
Yeah.
Um,
You know, right now, I'm my head's not really there. Uh, I'm enjoying what I'm doing right now, learning a new trade. Um, I'd like to start my own, contracting business at some point. So I'm kind of learning the
mhm,
ropes there.
mhm.
Um, but it definitely could be fun at some point. Also, I don't know what their schedule is right now. I haven't really looked into it, but you know, I I don't think I could do like the WWE full schedule. It's just
Mhm.
I want to be around for my kids, and I want to see them as much as possible.
Yeah, as far as I know, they're not doing any live events or anything like that. I think they just have the Wednesday night shows. Those are live in Jacksonville, I believe. And as far as I mean, probably media stuff but
Sure.
other than that, I know they're
Yeah.
not.
I
Far as I heard, they're not doing any shows, other
uh,
shows.
definitely. I would love to.
Hmm.
Can somebody give them a call? Does anybody know?
I've got Billy Gunn's number, man. I'll text him
Yeah,
for
you
you.
got.
I mean, I know a guy, you know a guy, So. Let's see. Charles is asking, who would you like to wrestle in the past, and if you could, who would you wrestle now?
Mm, um, um, I would love to do, you know, some tag stuff with, and I just had a lot of fun tagging with MVP um, against Dash, the Revival. Wow, what is their name in AEW now? Like they're
Dax Harwood and Cash Wheeler.
yeah, I think they're probably the best in the business right now. Fun they could carry me through a good match. I think.
Yeah, I think Tully with them is a fantastic idea. Actually, I just think that trio is just old school wrestling at its finest, man. And I grew up old school wrestling, man. I'm still that old school fan too, and I love seeing stuff like that. They're heels, and I love it. I love the heel. I love
I
hating the heel. You know what I mean? I think
Yeah,
it's fantastic. So
I love that about them too. I love that old school. It just feels like Arn and Tully. It
yes, it
does.
does. It does. And they just do the
They're
heelish things, like
the way.
just the little subtle things. Like they'll do the
Yep.
suplex suplex from the apron to the ropes. Tully will swipe the foot and hold the foot down, and this the most subtle old school heel things that makes
Hmm.
people want to hate you. I love that. I love that nuance that has been gone for so long, and it's like, yes, make me hate you. That means that you're doing your job well. So yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Um, all right, let's see. Time for a couple more. Um, Elvis is asking, how was it working with Eddie for his last match?
I'm just fortunate to have been able to wrestle Eddie in any capacity. You know, it sucks
Mm-hmm.
that it was his last match, but he was he was awesome. And I remember after the match, he had a few things that a few corrections. Um, just taking my time a little more in the beginning, and I remember I I probably told this on here before, but I've answered this question probably a million times. It's the most asked question ever.
Yeah.
But I remember uh, it ended with me hitting him with the chair. That was the last thing. I
Mm-hmm.
smacked him over the head with the chair. I was always taught, if you're gonna swing a chair, like if you're gonna do it right. It's nothing worse than seeing somebody like dink, just kind of pull a chair shot.
Mm-hmm.
So I wailed. I hit him. Plus, it was for TV, and that was always the other thing. House shows, you're super light with each other, try not to hurt each other too bad. But TV was like, if you're gonna do something, lay it in a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
And he came back and he was like, "Whoa, bro! Like you, you got me."
Nice.
So
All right, two more quick ones I saw. There was a quick one. There was a good one that I saw. There's so many. There's so many. Oh, this was good. Guillermo, how did you feel when you lost your Money in the Bank contract for a bad diagnosed injury?
that, that's that sucks. It stung a lot at the time, but I remember also thinking at the time, like, life goes on. I'll just pick it up
Yeah. Yeah.
when I get back. I'll just pick it up, and I'll do something different.
Mm-hmm.
And which I did. I ended up. It wasn't like that was the end of my career, and like it just see the crazy thing about this business is that it's 52 weeks a year,
Mm-hmm.
and you just have to keep coming up with new interesting storylines. And the fact that guys are on that kind of schedule means that people are going to get hurt, and you never know when it's going to happen. And when somebody gets hurt, you still have to like pick up the pieces and figure out, okay, how do we salvage this storyline that we've put so much time into? And sometimes they just have to think of something on the spot. And
Yeah.
that just happened to be they needed to take the title off of Taker because he had to have surgery. I
Mm-hmm.
was going to do it, and I was going to do it the next night. And they were like, you're going to be out for 7 or 8 months. We still need to get the title off the Taker. So here's the deal: you're going to fly to. They picked me up. Vince's jet came and picked me up in Pennsylvania, and it was in Erie, and flew me to Penn State.
Mm-hmm.
And like, you're going to challenge Edge. And I couldn't move my arm. So I remember Vince asking me, like, what can you do? And I was like, not much. I
Mm-hmm.
really can't. Um, my arm was completely casted. And I was just like, just jump me, beat me up, roll me in the ring, and hit me with the spear. 1, 2, 3. So,
Mm. Wow.
but
Now-
I've never been weird about losing or whatever. We're telling stories of good versus evil,
yeah.
and sometimes the good guys got to win, and sometimes, as long as the people are saying yay when they're supposed to say yay and boo when
Mm-hmm.
they're supposed to say boo, I'm
Mm-hmm.
happy. Some
Yeah.
of the most fun I'd ever had in the wrestling business was losing matches,
Mm.
because like when you're laying there and you hear the reaction that you had
Yeah.
hoped for, you're
Yeah.
like, we got them, we did it,
Yes.
and it's a
Absolutely.
team, and it's always a team effort. It's always you, the other guy, and the referee,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
the producer that kind of helped you put everything together.
Yeah. Yeah. Real quick question. I don't think all the times I've interviewed you, I don't think I'll ever ask you this. How come they didn't go back to that? Like when they realized that your injury wasn't as bad as it was, how come they didn't go back to saying, okay, well, let's just somehow take it off of Edge, have you turn babyface, do a triple threat with you heel or something like that to get back to the plans?
Mm, I don't know. I'm not quite sure. When I mean, Edge, the night after I dropped it to Edge, that Money in the Bank briefcase, Edge went out and beat Taker for the title. But you're saying
Yeah.
like, why didn't I go ahead and beat Edge then?
Yeah. How come they never went back to it? Yeah.
You know, I think a lot of times in that, because I was off for probably a month or a month and a half after that, and it was like, all right, we're going down this path now. Sorry, buddy, but like we'll get back to you later, and it just never, that particular thing never materialized.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's just part of doing that. Every week you got to come up with, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? What are we going to do? You know?
Yeah, that's true.
And when they have plans to go with somebody, and those plans get derailed, it's like, now we gotta figure everything else out, and then too, I think, to some degree, I had some bad string of, I tore my lat, and then my triceps, and then my shoulder. There was a couple things that sort of happened, and is he injury prone? I remember hearing that one. Like I always thought that was silly, because if the injuries that I sustained were never because of something silly that I did, or if I was reckless or something like that. It was always at the hands of another. So it's like, somebody comes out and hits you with a baseball bat, kneecaps you, and then you heal up, and then somebody hits you in the other leg with the baseball bat. I wouldn't say you're injury prone.
It's true. It's true.
Maybe prone to being injured by others.
Yes, indeed. And lastly, did you ever have the chance to work with either of the Road Warriors?
I did not.
You didn't work with Animal when he did his
ride with.
Oh, I was going to say you didn't do anything with Animal during his SmackDown WWE run toward the latter part of his career.
No, where he was tagging with John Heidenreich, right?
And then he went back to the Chaps and was heel and stuff. Yeah,
he was in the company at the time. We were on SmackDown together, and I really was fortunate to be able to ride with him for a few loops. It was just the two of us, and I really enjoyed it. I mean, like, I learned a lot from him, and obviously he's one of the greatest minds, the greatest tag teams in the business, and and since that time we've always maintained. We were always in contact. I had him on my podcast. He came up to the Academy once. He was, he was just a sweet guy, and I remember he always wore my Academy shirt wherever he could, and would always plug it. So
that's awesome. Yeah, good stuff, man. Well, it's always a pleasure. Always a pleasure, my man. Once again,
same here.
Yeah, it's like we always outdo ourselves when we chat, man. So that's a good stuff. That's a good sign, man. All right. Anything else to plug before we head out, man?
No, that's it. Just please, if you're looking at becoming a professional wrestler, we've got a good thing going on here in Minneapolis. And just visit theacademyprowrestling.com, or you can text. This comes right to me or my wife, 507-722-2776. And we'll answer any questions you have.
Yeah. Speaking of that, you got some business to take care of, man. So don't let me stop you. Have a good night, my man.
And with that, you too.
All right, bye-bye.